Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we are going to talk about what is the best basher that you can buy in 2024. Now granted, all of these cars are for 2023 and there is a new version of this one, but we're going to talk about my experience with these cars, which one I would recommend. So I'm going to rate these cars in 5 categories: durability, looks, electronics, fun, and value. I'm going to talk about how they've been in my experience, and if I could do it all again, what would I do? So yeah, without further ado, let's crack on. We have got the Traxxas Sledge, we've got an Arrma Kraton EXB roller, but we will also talk about the new Arrma Kraton. We have got the FS Racing Leopard, which I'm not suggesting is the best basher of 2024. I've got one, so we'll talk about it. And we've got the Kagama, Team Corelli Kagama here, 6S XP. Now then, price-wise, we are talking about $700, $770 for the V2. This one, I got in the sale off Amazon as a roller. Here everything's expensive anyway. I think, as I remember, it was about $450. I'm not even sure what it is in America, but I paid $450 for the roller with no electronics. The Leopard, got it from a local hobby shop a couple of weeks ago, $480. So bear in mind, when the Sledge is coming in at $770 for the V2, this is $300 cheaper. And then you've got the Kagama, and I think the Kagama is 680 euros. It's about $720. So it's actually coming in, I think, slightly more than the original Sledge and $50–60 less than a new Sledge. The new Kraton with electronics, $1,000. So you could have 2 of these for the price of this. All right, so let's start off with the Sledge. I love this car, but it is an absolute disaster when it comes to durability and overall value for money. I'll tell you the reasons why. The hinge pins will continuously break, especially if you replace them with standard hinge pins. You'll just break them continuously under normal jumping conditions, not under heavy bashing, under normal conditions. The rear drive shafts will pop out under normal conditions, and the drive train, the actual diff gears, although they are big and chunky, they are made out of absolute junk. I lost my rear diff pretty fast and had to replace it with the hardened steel upgraded diff. The other thing that you don't get with this, that you get with a Team Corelli, you get with a Leopard, and you get with a Kraton, is sway bars. Whether sway bars are really necessary or not is beside the point. The other 3 cars all have them. The Sledge does not. And the other thing that you don't get with the Sledge, that you get with everything else, is aluminium shock caps. That's the other thing that breaks continuously on a Sledge. So you're also getting locked into Traxxas's ecosystem. They are making you buy their batteries to fit in the battery tray. They're even making you buy their wheel nuts. I mean, come on. It's becoming a little bit ridiculous. So durability wise, out of all of these cars, in my experience, out of all of these cars, the Sledge is the worst. 2 for durability. The only redeeming feature, and bear in mind I love this car, the only redeeming feature of this car is the body mounting system. That's super cool. The electronics in this are the worst. Out of all 4 of these cars, the electronics in the Sledge are worse. And we're talking about $1,000 EXB, the new one. This has got a hobby wing, 150 amp ESC, a hobby wing motor. It's way better than this. And this, well, we'll come to this in a bit. The other thing about the Sledge is the tyres are absolute junk. These tyres are rubbish. They turn into pancakes and the foams disintegrate super fast. I've put the tyres on now, but I don't use them. They're absolutely useless. So durability wise, I'm giving it a 2. Looks, I'm giving it a 4. I think it looks cool. I like the look of the Sledge. I think it looks good. Electronics, 3. Fun factor, when it breaks all the time, it ain't no fun. It's junk. 3. Value, really, really poor value for money too. All right. Now, having said all that, I love this car, but the reason why I love this car is because I've upgraded everything on it, and now it's decent, and it's one of the toughest cars I've got. But it took so much time to get there. And if you're thinking about this as a car that you want to take and upgrade, it might be a viable option if you're prepared to change everything. And I mean everything, because that is what you will do. So I'll show you mine. And this is what's basically made it bearable. You could go way deeper, way deeper on this car. So as a very bare minimum, you've got to change the tires. You've got to get aluminium shock caps. You have to, right? Then I've gone for CVDs in the back, so that the drive shafts, if they don't pop out. So CVDs in the back, aluminium shock caps, the wing mount. Now I'm not going to complain about the wing mount because all wing mounts break, so I'm not going to talk about the wing mount. But then I basically removed the battery tray, drilled holes so I can put straps in. I've cut off the plastic servo. That's the other thing. The servo is so slow and so weak. It's got the worst servo, not out of all of them, but it's got a worse servo than the Kraton and the Kagama. When this is plastic and part of the battery tray, this servo mount, so I basically had to cut off the old servo mount and put in the aluminium one. And then as well on mine, I've got a reverse motor mount because the pinion keeps slipping. Ugh. This is the problem with the Sledge. The other thing that mine's doing now is, whenever I jump it, it's torn the screws out of these rear braces. So these also need to be upgraded. Sledge, really, does it fly well now that I've completely changed it? Yeah. Is the power system good now it's got a Spectrum power system in it? Yeah. But it really should not be this way. So this one, honestly, out of all of these cars, this is the worst. Do I like it now, and is it amazing to drive now? Yes. But as it comes, this is the worst car you can get. So unless you're prepared to invest in it, and I was, but in hindsight, I would not make that same choice again. I'm almost to the point with this car where I'm in so deep that I wouldn't sell it. We've been through such a journey that I don't want to get rid of it. But Sledge, body, good. Everything else, junk. If you disagree, come at me in the comments. Let's talk about it. I should also mention, guys, how I use these cars. So, like, what I tend to do, I go into the dunes and so I'm running in pretty big terrain and running in the sand, hence why they've got paddles on them. I like to run fast, I like to jump long, don't go out to intentionally break anything, but often I'll take 2 or 3 cars because something will break. And I'm not expecting these cars to be indestructible, but so if something breaks under heavy jumping, yeah, massive jumping or a huge crash at high speed, totally prepared for that. But when things are breaking under normal, basic circumstances, and you've paid $700 and it's Traxxas, it's a big brand name, you do not expect that low level of durability. The upgraded one, they've upgraded the spur gear to a hardened steel spur gear. The spur gear on this is the only thing that still survived. The front and rear differentials have both been upgraded. I think the Traxxas one is $50 a pop, right? So there's $100. I think they have you for $50 for the shock caps, right? So there's $150. So this 700, even if you buy the new version, 770 becomes 870 becomes 920, and you're still going to buy hinge pins and probably CVDs for the back. So you're almost into it for $1,000, and you can't even program the ESC. What is all that about? I mean, come on. Traxxas, failure. Alright, so Kraton EXB, probably the sharpest handling of all the cars. Very light and very nimble. New power system, similar to the old one, but good. Servo, probably the best servo out of all 4 of these cars. comes in the Arrma car. So, and I'm talking about the new one, and also if you bought like an RTR Arrma, any RTR Arrma, like a Fireteam or a Big Rock, whatever it is, the servos that you get in those are probably the quickest and the best servos. The Spectrum power system is decent, yeah, and adequate and programmable. 7075 chassis, 7075 tower braces, all good, but it's all coming with a big price tag. I like the Arrma cars. I find them really easy to work on. I liked actually the fact they did rollers. So personally, I'm not too keen on the RTR because with a roller you can put whatever motor, whatever ESC you want in it. So I do like it that way. And with my Kraton, I've not really done much to it, apart from steal pieces off it for other cars. Here in Dubai, it was very expensive for me to get. At some point, I couldn't get hold of the shock standoffs, and it was cheaper for me to buy some GPM shocks that came with standoffs. So I put the GPM shocks on there. So I didn't actually need an upgrade. I think I broke a shock standoff. But yeah, durability wise, for me, the Kraton's been super durable. I can't think of anything that I've broken on it. Yeah, drive cups on the Kraton. So I've had drive cups breaking as an issue. I don't think that's been resolved on the new one. Kraton, way more adjustable turnbuckles, way more 70-75 and stronger bracing. If the Sledge was how to do it completely wrong, the Kraton, it's had many revisions and it's got a new bracing system now. I never had any problems with this bracing system, but I think the Kraton really has got to be up there as one of the best. So yeah, what an awesome car. You do get sway bars. You do get. I think you get bleedable shocks on the new one as well. A super beefy, super tough car. I'm not sure what other problems did I have. Pillar balls popping out. That was super annoying on this car. That's the first thing I did. Ran it on grass and the pillar ball popped out, and I did a tiny little jump, like it dropped 2 feet, and I broke a shock standoff. Since that happened, I've not had any problems at all with my Kraton. It is a tank. It is an awesome truck. What I would say is the copperheads are not the best for air control, and you're far better running it with a D-boot, something like that. So yeah. So Kraton, durability wise, I'm gonna give it a 4. Looks wise, I'm gonna give it a. I love the look of the Kraton. I think it's a super cool looking car. I'm gonna give it a 5. Electronics, I'm gonna give it a 4. Fun factor, I'm gonna give it. I don't know, I'm like 4.5, 4.5. Value for money, it's $1,000 now. Like mine, I thought was pretty good value for money at half that price for the roller. Value wise, you do as well get, let's not forget, you get 70-75 diff cases, which is a good upgrade. So I'm gonna say, is $1,000 for any RC car good value? No, but in context, we'll give it a 4. So now we're on to the Kagama, guys, and let me tell you something about this car. This car is naughty. It's the biggest, definitely feels the biggest, chunkiest, and it probably has the best tires out of all of these cars as an RTR. So the tires are really good. You get a big expansion out of there. That's the other thing about the Sledge. The tires, oh my god, you're re-gluing them after every single run. They're terrible. All right, so back to the Kagama. So tires are good. The thing is super chunky. It's got the body's a really nice polycarbonate body. Aluminium shock caps, sway bars. It's actually got the nicest details. Look at that little, I don't know what you'd call it, that little that little piece there on the sway bar, but it's got hardened steel drive cups. It's got super chunky arms. It's got really nice top arms, top braces. Just really nice details all over the car. And then it's the most powerful out of all the cars. It's got 185 ampere-C. And let me tell you something, right? This thing is an absolute missile. So if you want to have the best car in terms of like the one that's going to put the biggest smile on your face, straight out of the box without changing anything, like this is on punch 3, this thing is insane. I turned it up to punch 4. You don't need to turn the punch up on it. It is an absolute missile. Servo is 25 kilogram. It's all right. Like it's done the job for me. I think it's not as good as the Arrma servos, but it's a decent servo. It's fine. It's got the best bracing system. Absolutely got the best bracing system and the best quality in terms of components. Not 70-75 chassis or shock towers, but honestly, I'm not 100% sure that you really need to go down that route. This thing is so well made. It's just super impressive. It doesn't have a bumper, but it does have this front lip. And from what I found in my experience, that's adequate. It's got something similar in the back to protect the rear end as well. So yeah, this thing, it's surprised me because I had the Sledge as my first car and it had so many issues. And then I had the Kraton, which had teething problems, but it was really good. I've then gone to the Corelli, and I think this one as an overall package is the best. Could it have a couple of little improvements? Yeah, I think the servo could be a bit better, and the battery tray, although the battery tray fits my batteries perfectly, I'd like it to have more either some foam cushioning or just be higher at the top to protect your batteries under big impacts. So if I was going to give a critique of it and say if there's something that I would tweak, it would just be the battery tray and the servo. But on most cars, servos are expendable and people will generally put in their own servo. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I know for most of my cars I'm running on not on the original servo, they're running on my servo of choice. The Kagama, in terms of sheer fun and power, so having said that, like you need a big space to run it or run it on 4S. Depends how crazy you want to go, but the thing is, if you want to go crazy, it will go crazy. And this is kind of like what happened to me when I first got it. I almost got overexcited with it because it's just that insane in terms of power. It's just a beast. I absolutely think this car is awesome. The other thing about this car is, right, when I see it on camera, when I've seen it in pictures and other people running it, I thought it had a nose shaped a little bit like a donkey, right? So I wasn't that keen on the looks, but when you see it in the flesh, actually, it is a beast, and it looks sick. I much prefer the look of it in the flesh than on camera. Now, all this being said, the Kagama is not indestructible. I have broken mine, but very, very minor. I broke a pin in the CVD, and what I would say is that the Kagama does not break under normal driving conditions. You have to be silly with it or land it incredibly badly, as I did multiple times, for it even to threaten to break. So when I broke mine, I'd already used all my 9 lives. Terrible landings from me trying to do crazy stuff with it, like triple backflips and in inappropriate situations. So I got a bit overexcited with it. After multiple incredibly ridiculous hits that would have destroyed the Kraton or the Sledge, well, let's say the Sledge for sure, Kraton maybe 50-50, I had a very, very minor breakage. So the Kagama, in terms of durability, has kind of rewritten the rule book. It does have a higher ride height than the other 2 cars as well. So for my driving conditions in big terrain, high speed, it definitely suits what I like to do the best. With that being said, let us move on to the ratings. So durability wise, as I say, no car is indestructible, and no car is flawless. So, but durability wise, 4.5. Looks wise, on camera I'd give it a 3, but in the flesh I'd give it a 4. Electronics wise, it's got the best electronics out of all of them. Transmitter wise, it's got a 300 meter range. I like the transmitter. Some people prefer the Spectrum transmitters, but I think the transmitter is good. So electronics, 4.5. If you were going to be constructively critical, maybe you could have whacked it, even gone out of the box and whacked a bigger motor in it, or a lower kV motor with a longer can, but then you'd be putting the price up. So, but as it stands, it's still an overkill system. Fun factor, it's the most fun that I've had with an RC car, so I'm giving it 5. And then as a value proposition, just over $700. It's cheaper than a new Sledge. You've got $300 change for lipos if it's going to be your one and only car. So it just makes massive sense to me value wise. So value as well, again, $700 for anything is expensive, especially a toy. 4.5. So should we give this car a rating anyway? Yeah, I've left the tyres in the car, but the tyres are basically exactly the same size as Qatar's, which is what these are. So I put Qatar's on it. So it does look smaller than the rest. If you put Copperheads on it, or you put any other bigger tyre on it, it's almost exactly the same as a Kraton. And I was trying to work out what this body shell is copied off, and I saw the new Losi Mini T, that snub nose, and that's basically exactly what this Chinese knockoff is. So this is the FSR Leopard 6S, and essentially from what I've seen with it, it's a Kraton knockoff in terms of how it's designed in the most part, and I'm talking about an old Kraton. So it's like an old Kraton knockoff with Hobbywing electronics, which are good, and like Qatar tires. So nothing is 70-75, but even with this at $480, you get sway bars and you get aluminium shock caps, which is more than what you get with the Sledge. You also get, so the body shell colour, of course, it's a bit gaudy, it's not to everybody's taste. You can get a black version of the body, which is nice, but the actual shape of the body is cool. If you just look at the way the arms are constructed, we have this as well, we have a guard similar, it's kind of a lipped guard here on the front, so no bumper, but this guard is similar to the one on the Kagama. Aluminium chassis brace, a WP150BL, 2000 kV, FSR branded Hobbywing motor, but basically it's like a Kraton. The battery tray sucks, it's very shallow, so it's not great in terms of protection for your batteries, and the servo is 15 kilogram, which sucks. The transmitter has a very short range because in China the laws are different, so the range isn't that long. So I tried to speed run this and I kept losing it range wise, but actually for bashing you're never really going to go out of range with it. It's fine for general bashing. So so yeah, this is the FSR Leopard. I'm not suggesting it's in the same league as these other 3 cars, because it's not, but if I could do it all again, would I buy a Sledge and invest all the money that I've invested in that? I had so much fun when I first bashed this car, and I bashed it now having experience with RC cars, but this was one of the most fun first bashes I ever had. I did switch the tyres out, I put Copperheads on it, and it handled, honestly, it just feels like a Kraton. Just feels just like a Kraton. And not just because I put Copperheads on it, the weight of the car, the way it's balanced, it's essentially a very cheap Kraton. Suspension geometry is similar, and it's a good little car. For depending on where you are in the world, if you want something cheap and that's good and pretty solid, like this is a good option. You change the servo out, but you change the servo out on the Sledge, you'd probably change the servo eventually anyway on the Kraton and the Kagama. So servo's not a big issue, but the power system is really strong. Yeah, so this one, let's give it some ratings. We'll be quick with this one because I'm not putting it in the same league as the other 3. Durability wise, when I first ran it, I broke the washer here off the wing, but otherwise everything was super solid. Durability wise, it's not going to be as strong as the others. It's a bit unfair. Let's give it a 3.5 for durability. Looks wise, I really like the body, and people are going to slate me for it because the colour's hideous, and I get it. But the actual look of the body is cool. So I'm going to give it, and also it looks good on camera because it's so bright. It picks up well on the GoPro, so I like it for that reason as well. I'm going to give it a 3.5 for looks. Electronics, power system is good. Servo is junk. Receiver is junk. So yeah, electronics 3.5. Fun factor: I had tons of fun with this car. 4.5. It's a rocket. I speed tested it on the first run, 57 miles an hour, standard pinion. And then value. 470, yeah, it's not fully loaded. You do want to change some bits, but still better value than a Sledge, I would say, for sure. I would give it a 3.5. I want to say 4, 3.5, let's say, because it is not a top brand. There's no 70/75 on it. Parts are cheap, and you'd be surprised. The parts for this are probably half the price of everything else, and you might have to wait for parts. But the thing is, depending on where you are in the world, you could wait for parts for any of these cars. So that's a good reason why. It's a good reason to have 2 RCs at least. Wait for parts for one and run the other one. Yeah, so yeah. Leopard, good little car. Good solid little car. Just nice. And when you think, okay, you have a Leopard for 480, there's $300 left, lipos, charger, you could even get a new servo and a new receiver for the price of a Sledge. Honestly, I would do that. And I love my, like I said, I love my Sledge. My Sledge is awesome when I run it now, but so much investment. What an absolute disaster. And I'm sorry to people who like Sledges. And let me just finish by saying this. Whichever one of these cars you pick, right? If you love the Sledge and you just want a Sledge, then get one, because that's what's going to make you happy. If you love a Kraton, get a Kraton. If you love a Kagama, get a Kagama. But if you were going to just be pragmatic and say what is the best value for money, you've got to be in Kagama or Kraton. And it's going to be, that's where the sensible money, that's where, if you were thinking about how much you're going to invest in the long term, what's going to be the best value, it's got to be one of those two. Kraton's coming fully loaded, Kagama's coming super tough, super fully loaded power system, and if you wanted the Swiss milled 70/75 front and rear diff cases, I think they're coming in around $50 each, maybe a little bit more, maybe $60 each. Don't quote me on that. You could still make this aluminium diff cases cheaper than you could with the Kraton, and it'll have a better back power system, and it will be more durable. So there you go, guys. That is my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you got the new Kraton? What do you think of it? Have you got a Kagama? What do you think of that? Have you got a Sledge? How many times have you broken it? I don't think there's many people who's going to have this FSR Leopard. If you're wondering what similar cars there are, in England it's FTX make an FTX Atom. It's an FTX DR8, which is the same as an FSR Atom, and they're all based around the same chassis with different arms. You also get the tank, and also they make the Model GT, which is called something else in Europe under license. So that's the manufacturer. So they do make some decent cars. That Model GT is a good car. They also make now a Model DT, which comes with an 8S power system. So they do make decent cars, although you may not have heard of them. They do make decent cars. This one is not a new platform, but this one is the V2, so it has a few little updates on it, including that skid and a new body. But yeah, that was a top handling little car, basically a Kraton. Basically a Kraton. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. As I always say, if you're watching this video, you're already a superhero. Elevate yourself to the level of demigod and smash the like button. If you are not subscribed, subscribeth to the channel, and from this day forth you shall also be known as demigod.